I began writing the 9th June 2025 fantasy fiction, and that's about 7 months ago-ish. And I have four big things that I'd say is probably my most important learnings throughout this period that I want to share in this video. So, without further ado, this is day 243 of me trying to create the next Harry Potter book series. So, the first one is to romanticize the inputs and not the externals. So what I basically mean with that is I've talked with a few people in the sauna, which I know is a very random example, but I've talked with a few people in the sauna at my gym, which ask me whether I'm doing the book series for the externals. Am I wanting the status of being a bestseller author? Do I want the clout that maybe comes with creating a good book? Do I want the book in general to be able to say I've written a book? I'd say I want all of those things. To a degree, I want all of those things. But that is a bonus side from what I really want, which is to write every single day. Because I've romanticized the process of writing. I find it very cool. I find it very enjoyable. You can see I have a coffee cup right there. And I have a few plants. I've made my environment into a very fun place to be. So there's more like intrinsic motivation behind writing. And I think intrinsic motivation is what will keep you going and keep you lasting in the game of writing. Because when you think about it, another example that comes up, writing a book, the author who wrote Hunger Games spent, I think, 2-3 years writing the first book. So writing a book takes a very long time. And if we rely on letting the external motivation keep us going, I think that will eventually, in my case, if I had focused mainly on the external motivation, that would have led me to a downfall and made me quit writing eventually. Because, I think if I just love the inputs, if I just love the act of writing, and doing it every single day and showing up at the desk, I'll eventually get the book. I'll eventually get the outcome. So it's kind of cause and effect, really. If I just love doing writing every single day, eventually I'll get the effect that all those thousands of writing sessions add up to, and suddenly I have the book right there on my desk. You never know. So that's the first, one of the biggest learnings. The second one is perseverance is everything. Meaning that's in writing, and it's also in general in anything you want to accomplish. For example, when you're working out at the gym, it's all perseverance. You have to be able to endure and do the habits every single day. Life can be boring in that sense, but when you start liking the inputs, it's sort of, you're putting yourself in a flow. If it's too much friction, let's say you have a very hard workout, and that's your workout like throughout the week a lot of times. You have a very strict and hard workout regime, you can say that. It's going to be very hard to persevere and endure that regime over several years. So if you lower the friction of the workout regime and you make it much easier, but maybe a little harder sometimes throughout the week, that would hold the test of time much better, and you'll most likely be working out 5 years from now then as well. Maybe with a new regime, maybe you've elevated your standard. The regime you had became too easy, so you put it up a notch. In my case with writing, I've done 1 hour of minimum writing for a lot of the time now. I began in my early months, in June, July, August, etc. I tried to think I could just write 3-4 hours right away, that I didn't have to work up to it. But that was too much friction, and sometimes I just didn't write because I thought it was a lost battle from the start. So starting slow, making sure you can build it up gradually and you will keep it going for years, and then you just a few times, so here and there, you add a little more, and you push that like floor a little up and up and up. Eventually you get to that, well, that bigger floor, I don't know. And you are suddenly working hard a lot, and you're doing very fine. That's the second lesson. Perseverance is everything. The third lesson is, like, learning I've gotten, is that writing very much opened my mind. It made me notice more of life and how beautiful life can be in a few cases. One example that popped up in my head right now was I stood waiting on the bus, and while I waited on the bus, my eyes just sort of drifted out up to a lamp, and it was snowing at the time as well, since I live in Norway. And I just looked at like the particles. There was like snow particles that was glittered in the light. And I just looked at it, and it swirled around and around and around. And I don't think I would have really noticed or cared for that if I hadn't been writing for 7 months. I think you notice more of the smaller things in life when you start writing, because try to take inspiration from everything you can and use it to describe things in your own scenes. And I find it makes life much cooler to be able to have the ability to actually notice things around you. And I sometimes just try to describe things in my own head. When I see a lamp, I might try describing the color in a different way, or just randomly look at a bird and try to in my own head to find a good verb for that animal, bird, or whatever. That's the third one. The fourth one is having a big goal makes your life so much more meaningful and cool and enjoyable. So ever since I set the goal of trying to create something like the Harry Potter book series, meaning trying to create a meaningful book series, not trying to specifically beat Harry Potter, just trying to signal that I want to create something meaningful. That has given me much like cooler life, in my opinion. I've had much more enjoyment, had much more purpose, and I've heard that humans have to create their own meaning, otherwise we're just drifting throughout the world. I know Elon Musk had a period, which is very random for me to say, but Elon Musk had a period where he tried to figure out what the meaning of his life were, etc. Why is it worth living? And he ended up figuring out that he wanted to take humans to another step and push us forward to become multi-planetary. So that's the fourth thing. Learning. That's the fourth learning. Writing books gives you a fucking awesome life. Even though I don't have any books written yet, but I've only got like drafted discovery scenes. But it's fun. It's definitely fun. So I'm gonna end it there. For you who, if you don't know, I have a big fat description down below in the YouTube beneath the video. And if you want to know like my premise, my one-line premise and my expanded premise, it's all in the description. And that's another day into a very long journey. Take care.